Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Friday, October 29th. It's getting spooky out there. We have a Sword of Damocles game for Ole, a cage match with Nuno and Ole when loser leaves town. Oh my God. Mike, are you up for a top four fight? It's out there. It's ready for you to grab. United are weak and you are strong.
It's like an old Western movie that the tumbleweed goes across and nobody fucking cares because both teams are so bad. They're so bad. And yet this is a clash for the top four. There are, as we've said many times on the show, there are 3 good teams and basically 17 bad ones this year, right? And Spurs and United are some of the cream of the shit, the cream of the crop of the bad. And I'm not. And I think over the next hour, you are going to probably try and convince me that I should care, I should be excited, and I should think that Spurs are going to do it because you, for some reason, I
believe in your team.
But you want Ole out, which is reverse engineering what a person who hates Manchester United should think. Because if you want them out, if you want him out, that means you want United to return to their stature.
Yeah, I suppose.
Right?
Okay, so this is the thing, right? So it is a sort of Damocles game. Essentially, Ole over this week it was call for his immediate fire. We talked about it on Monday. Then it was, Conte's in. We had the great Fabrizio. What's his last name? I can't remember.
Romano.
Romano. He's doing Twitch streams, and he's almost like a here we go. Clearly, this is Conte's crew trying to drum up interest to get him to United. And, whatever the teams are, there's a lot of out of the locker room, blah, blah, blah. This is happening. I don't buy it. So we get to this place where Alex Ferguson goes to the training field. They have discussions about, this is an interesting discussion. Do you think it undermines Ole to have Ferguson show up on the training ground?
No, it's the only reason he got it in the first place. The only reason he's still there. Right. So,
okay. Stevie
if
Nicol,
it undermines him,
whether
on the
you think he's
ground,
a moron or not.
Well, let me ask you
undermines him.
Let me ask you this. What undermines him more? Letting Cristiano Ronaldo on the field and basically let him run things, or Sir Alex showing up, right? They're basically the same thing. When you got Ronaldo back, you effectively said, Ole's not in charge here, right? Ronaldo's going to call his shots, play when he wants to play where he wants to play, not track back, not press, not do anything that a winning formula should provide from the team perspective. And he's going to be the man, right? Which brings me to why I have no confidence in Spurs in this game. We talk all the time on the show about how it's a weak link sport, right?
Yeah.
The opposition, no matter how many good players you have, the opposition will find your weak spot, attack it, exploit it, and beat you from it. But what happens when everybody on the field is a weak link, right? Effectively, that's kind of what happens on both sides here, right?
Yeah.
What happens then, I will tell you.
The thing is with United, the coach is the weak link.
No, they're all the weak link. But the point is that not all, obviously, but Bruno and Ronaldo, when there's so many weak links, I should say, not all, when there's so many, the cream really pushes through. The strong links carry the play. The strong links are actually the difference.
It's again right. United beat bad teams with weak spots.
Yes,
that don't collectively try and cover their weak spots.
And
right, the way Everton tried to cover its weak spots and got the draw.
Now, I don't think anybody listening to the show has any qualms about would I go to war for Harry Kane. Of course, he's our strong link. Heung-min Son is our strong link.
Yeah,
and that's it, right? And so, do you put those two players?
You don't like Højbjerg?
Right, Christian Romero is a strong link, but he's a Dyer or Sanchez next to him.
Yeah, a problem.
Hugo Lloris is a very strong link, but goodness, how much can a goalkeeper really do at this point?
Nothing.
And when you put it on the other side, those strong links against Bruno Fernandes, against Cristiano Ronaldo, against Marcus Rashford even, no thanks, not for me. It's going to go poorly, and that's why. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a team, a game of the worst team loses, not the better team wins, right?
Yeah, it does. It has taken on a little bit of a traditional wrestling loser leaves town match. I don't know how much juice Nuno has left. It feels like so it goes against my betting trope, right? When playing United, take the better coach. Nuno's not much better, so take United.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Right? He's not iconoclastic. He's just a guy, right? For all we know, the only reason that Wolves had any success ever was the fact that he literally had the two best midfielders outside the top 6 on his
Sure.
team, right? When Moutinho and Neves were going, they really had a chance to control games and get the ball up front and do their attack and counterattack stuff.
Mhm.
But he's trying to play the same way with midfielders who are destroyers and can't play the ball forward. So while Harry Kane can do a much better version of Jimenez, and and Son is a much better version of Jota, there's no Moutinho and Neves.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't play 3 at the back, which is the other thing that they always did.
Yeah.
So,
And the irony is you still have Matt Doherty if you wanted.
Yeah. Did he die?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
He's still not even playing in like the Carabao Cup, which we'll get into in a little bit. But we'll come back to Spurs. Believe me.
Yeah. So
I don't want to. I'm sorry, folks, but we will. But let's talk about the other North London club, who
Arsenal.
is honestly that might actually be the game of the week.
Yeah,
King
it's a
Power
weird
Stadium.
week. Yeah,
Leicester
Arsenal
versus
versus
Arsenal.
Leicester. Yeah, it's the early game, so it's the 4:30 kickoff.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, whatever the 12:30 kickoff. I do not wake up for these things. I lend myself to thinking that Arsenal are good. They've had some good results. Right? If you remember, they had their 0-3 start and they got the doors blown off them, and we had to say, "Oh, what are they going to get out of these next 12?" Well, you know what's happened? They haven't lost.
Yeah.
They have 2 bad draws though. The Brighton draw away was rough. They should have lost.
They should have.
And then the Palace draw, they were lucky as fuck, and they got one at the end of the game. Palace being wildly underrated by the bookies, like they're plus 1,200 against City. Nobody should be plus 1,200 in a single game. But
nobody who plays the game the way it's meant to be played should be plus 1,200, because on any given day they can have their day and Conor Gallagher can go off and they can beat them. But enough about them for now.
And shots here and there and things going. But I mean, I get why they do it. I understand that. But I do think that, Arsenal are in decent shape right now. They still are missing now. They do have decent injuries. No Ben White, no Tierney, no Odegaard.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. Yeah. Especially because this team didn't have depth. But what I did like what I saw was, and for lack of a better term, it's like they've got a whole crew of dudes I've never seen that are super athletic. Tavares, Lokanga, aka Sambi, Partey, Saka, Laka, and Aubameyang. They've got like a street team. Like they've got like a ghetto team. Mm-hmm. They've got like an African dance crew, like a hip hop crew. I'm like, you know what? I love seeing them. The black guys with the red shirts. They look awesome. They just look like way more energetic. And I do think that if you believe in the idea of teams improving, Arsenal have the most room to improve because they're literally the youngest team in the league by a full year.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're where they are bodes well for them. Now, are they going to be always inconsistent? They just had a good performance. Can they now back that up with an away performance against Leicester?
Right.
Everything says that they shouldn't, but they could. They are benefiting from no real extra games. I mean, everybody played Carabao Cup, but that's going to help them in the long run. And Smith Rowe looks to be a player. I don't know. It's a clash. Leicester are the favorite, but I think the performance will tell us where Arsenal are. Like they can lose this game, but lose well.
Yeah, no, and I think that they will.
Lose.
I think that they will. And here's why. I've been harsh on Leicester the whole year.
They're back, baby.
These two teams, by the way, have identical records. 4
They're
wins.
not identical.
They're not identical. Okay?
It's not
4
identical.
Wins,
when 2 records are not identical.
4 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses.
Yeah.
Of those 4 wins, count among them for Leicester. They beat Wolves, who are in the top half in expected goals.
Good team.
They only lost to City 1-0, right?
Tough game.
Let's see. They smash United 4-2, which frankly isn't that all that impressive as you'd normally think.
It is. It is impressive.
No, it is. It is.
It counts, man.
They beat Brentford 2-1 last weekend on a tremendous...
coming off like that was tough.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, that was a game that they played after a Europa League game, and that's a game where Brentford is going to beat you up the whole game, and that you're going to drop points because you're tired from playing Spartak Moscow on Thursday. They took it. They took the 3 points, right? Contrast that with Arsenal's games.
Yeah.
Not all that impressive. Their biggest wins. Let's see. Obviously, Spurs. They beat the shit out of us. Norwich, Burnley. They have a 5-0 against our City. They have a 2-0 against Chelsea. They lose 2-0 against Brentford. We've talked until we were blue in the face about that one. And yeah, they beat Villa last week 3-1. That was a really, really bad Villa side. Not that they were bad. They played horribly.
They were really bad.
We talked about it a lot. We expected them at
we both bet on it. We were both like, please give me this game and shoot it into my veins.
So these are not the same thing. And Leicester is almost. We talked about how they needed to get Iheanacho into the lineup. Now it's almost like you have to get Daka into the lineup too.
And he may be in this game because Vardy's a warrior. He's tough. He's 34.
Vardy's becoming he's becoming the 60-minute sub, right? And he's going to be lethal in that role. He's becoming almost that Giroud type where he comes off the bench. It's like, fuck, here he comes. You know, and
he doesn't need the ball, which makes him fantastic. He just runs the channels all day long, and then it's just one touch, boom, and he scores a goal. And you're like, you fucking goddamn rat boy.
But I think, and the funny thing is that it's actually been at the expense of my pal Harvey Barnes. But Daka
dude's not playing.
To be, I know
he's gone.
We sort of talked early on about how Madison was sort of it was an unhinging in the team. He didn't seem to make sense and fit very well. But actually, he's
doing that out. He's doing better now. Yeah, and I think Rodgers, to his credit, just kept playing him. He just was like, this is a guy I trust.
You need him.
But I just always feel better with 9.5 Iheanacho in the team. He just knits things together so much better. They play better. When they went on their run at the end of last season, he helped them stick it out. I just like Iheanacho. And then let's just get Daka in there because, that dude is fun. He's got goals in him.
Hey, you called him out before the season. He was one of your guys to watch. And now he's one of my guys to watch because I have him in fantasy. So I'm pretty psyched about it.
Listen, West Ham has Benrahma and Bowen living the dream.
Yeah.
And they have eliminated the city of Manchester from the Carabao Cup.
Yes, they have. That's a good segue. So let's talk about City, who have dethroned the 4-time champions.
I know, 4-time champions. They lost on penalties.
What I would say is the most telling thing about this week with West Ham, who, by the way, currently sit in a Champions League position, despite the fact that they also have had to go on the road and play in Europa League matches. Very impressive
undefeated in Europe.
Yep. Very impressive start for them.
Mm-hmm.
They are now getting the Manchester City treatment. Now they're not getting a chic, but they are getting they beat
a very
Man
rich
City.
man.
They beat Man City and they took their own game out from under them. Daniel Kretinsky is reportedly going to be buying a controlling stake, I believe is the term, of West Ham with the intentions of buying them outright.
Yeah, the porn owners of Sullivan and Gold, literally that's how they made their money.
Yeah.
Are going to sell West Ham from dildos to billions. From billions to dildos? I don't know. I'm working. I have to workshop that out. There was something with dildos and billions, and I didn't quite know where to go with there. But, something's there with the checks. The irony of it is I don't know which team it is, but the best players on West Ham are from the Czech league, and I think he owns the team. So maybe there was the deals in buying those players between Soufal and between Souček and Koufal, and then there's another one who doesn't play who's got poofy hair, who's from that team. Because remember, they played in the Europa League and they cheered Souček.
And they cheered each other. Yeah,
right. There was a big. They did social media kind of stuff. Yeah. So there's a Czech connection. Say that 3 times fast. That connected it. And I think the Gold and Sullivan, they never had enough money to really own a Premier League team. They got gifted that stadium which fans didn't love, but it makes the franchise value of that club way, way higher. Like,
Sure.
I don't think people know this about the Premier League teams, but they are like, it's a league full of Wrigley Fields. They're all in neighborhoods. Very rarely are they out of town. And while West Ham had the Boleyn ground, which was just a dump in the middle of a neighborhood,
It was their dump.
And now they have this ridiculous stadium that is too big for their britches, but they got a hold of it. You can hear about all of it from our friend Eddie Hearn when he was talking about Leyton Orient. He tried to get the stadium, tried to fight so that West Ham couldn't get it. But they end up getting it. They end up having the opportunity to be there. But yeah, they put out City in the Carabao Cup. City dominate. City. So the narrative always is when City don't win, that they're disjointed and didn't connect and don't have a striker. Let us just put that to bed. City took 25 shots with 9 on target. So if you know anything about football, you know that the difference between a shot that you aimed and wanted to go in a top corner and the shot that goes really hard right at the goalkeeper is a millimeter on your foot. So someone pushing you. So City lose on penalties. Poor Phil Foden misses one after he comes on late to try and bring the game together.
Oh, my
but
buddy
good
Phil.
on West Ham. I think City and West Ham have a weird positive relationship with each other. The fans have love for each other. It's a weird, there's sister club kind of thing where West Ham fans are always like, good for City. Because I think when we were both in the mire of shitholes land, we were kind of like each other's like drinking buddy when we sucked and we'd like might go down every couple seasons. It might have
You guys
a
had
good
like
season
walkie
here and there.
talkies.
Yeah, we were like the dudes like, we're gonna go to the bar together. So that was City's bond with West Ham has always been pretty strong, because like we were the shit heel to Manchester United, and West Ham were the shit heel to Arsenal and Chelsea and all the other times. So West Ham is this weird, could be a big club, but they're a famous club rather than a big club.
The weird thing is that the difference,
and they're cool. There's a cool West Ham have a cool factor, right? Because they have 7 movies. Like there's like a half a dozen of them.
No, they're all shit. Said the guy who hates West Ham. No, but I'll say this about them: the difference. Let's compare them and Newcastle, right? Like modern takeovers. These are
very good analogy. Newcastle.
These are not monetarily even in the same stratosphere. But look at the teams themselves. Newcastle has to basically go through 2 to 3 stages, probably before they even get to where West Ham are now. Maybe not 2 to 3. Definitely one full stage of player purchases.
But let's step back a second.
Before they get there.
Without Moyes, they almost went down. So that they're not that like the difference between West Ham going down is David Moyes. Okay. Now he's crafted the squad over a few windows, but he had to take guys out, and he's made that team his own, right?
Right. No, absolutely.
Like Kufal is good, and Antonio's good.
But what I'm saying is, right now, if you take Moyes away for whatever reason,
they would be fine.
If he sent an email to somebody 10 years ago or some bullshit like
that. Right.
Then they'd be a top half team. No problem.
I don't think he knows how to use email.
I'm certain he doesn't.
He's lucky.
Newcastle is not a top half team. And in fact, they might go down. So what they actually, you're actually making the point for me is that Newcastle needs a David Moyes. They need to stay up.
They do.
And the difference is that they will accelerate faster than West Ham did the last 4 or 5 windows, let's say. But right now, taking over, if you had unlimited funds and you could take over Newcastle or West Ham, which team would you take?
I would take I think long-term Newcastle, short-term West Ham.
Definitely. That's what I was leading you to. Absolutely.
Because I think Newcastle, actually they're close. I think
West Ham. London.
Yeah, I think I would take. Yeah, West Ham is the better choice.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and especially because Arsenal's there to be kicked.
Yeah, they are,
and Spurs to a lesser extent.
Mm-hmm.
I think Spurs are basically where they've always been. It's just that Pochettino made Spurs kind of bigger than they've always been.
Yeah, well, I don't even want to. Let me stick with the West Ham thing.
You're getting very dejected. It's too early. It's only 10 games in. You can't already be out. Your season is not over.
No, it's not. But I
go
want
win
it to
those
be
fucking
already.
cups, you bastard.
No, I don't care. But no, but West Ham take on, as we said, a struggling Villa side. Leon Bailey needs to start for Villa. I don't think that he got enough time. Again, he was coming off the injury. But I'm leery of their ability to really show their quality. And the biggest miss for me this season has been Emi Buendia, who's been sort of a ghost. I mean, he was
he's not
okay later in the game. I mean, stop. He was good later in the game against Arsenal, but it's like, where you been, dude? The season's a quarter over, right?
I think that he's not going to play.
That's possible.
They're not going to go to that 3 anymore. They're going to go Watkins, Ings, Bailey with McGinn and Louise, and then the kid Ramsey. It's over.
And Traore is back as well.
Yeah. So. But it's a little bit funky. It's a little bit out there. I do want to give a little shout to my historic champion as I swing at Bugs. City, 4-time Carabao Cup champions. We are now no longer Carabao Cup champions. We have very little narrative going on with City aside from, hey, you guys need a striker. Our latest narrative is Kevin De Bruyne good anymore? That's actually a story.
As if players don't dip in form sometimes.
He may have really fucked up his ankle badly
in the Euros.
Apparently he did play and go, I can't believe I played. My legs fucked up. And I said this, and I don't know if I recorded it, or I thought it, or it was in the ether bubble. It was in the bubble. I thought this, yes. City bought Grealish to replace De Bruyne because I think they knew that he'd taken a few kicks too many. And moving Grealish into the middle, he's not the passer De Bruyne is, but he could be the creator De Bruyne is. And it always mean things have to move around. But I think that's where it was. And that's why they bought him early. It was a little bit of a future thinking like, hey, KDB's not going to be here a while. Striker is important, but
did he sign a new contract?
KDB, I don't know. They just pay people. I have no idea. They just pay people. My team.
The reason why I say that is that because I don't think, not that money is of any object to City, but is he there contractually for 5 years? And if he is he getting those checks like Ozil, or is there 18 months on his contract and he's like, fuck it, I'm going to go back to Belgium or some shit?
I don't expect, he feels like a guy who'll stick around. Okay. He's at the club till 2025. He just signed a 2-year extension in May. So he's on an extended, he's got 2 more years. So they've held him up. Yeah,
I remember
they've been signing everybody. The one who's not signed is Sterling, who they're definitely
that's funny.
Just like, you can go now.
That was probably right before the Euro or during maybe. Interesting.
Yeah.
So who wins? Who wins? Let's go with this. Who wins the EFL Cup? Here's who's left: Chelsea, Arsenal, Brentford, Sunderland, West Ham, Leicester, Liverpool, Spurs. Those are the teams in the hat. There has not, to my knowledge, been the draw yet because I can't find the matches anywhere, the fixtures. Of those teams, you know who I'm picking.
West Ham all the way.
Do you have West Ham?
No. It completely depends on the draw.
I know. It's like picking Final Four teams before you see the bracket.
Yeah. When you're getting down to this group, when it's when in the pot is still Liverpool, Chelsea, you have to go with one of those two. I feel like
I disagree,
but just hold on. The team I would think would pull it out is Chelsea because they have more depth and I think they have more ways to win games in these kind of situations. Whereas Liverpool will tank this thing because they do that. That's just been their historical way.
Mm-hmm.
I know your other love boy will be Brentford.
Yes,
you'll throw them into the mix.
Yes, I certainly will.
But they're all going to be dying to get Sunderland, and just so whoever is in the next round, that's a quarterfinals. Whoever gets Sunderland,
that's a bye to the semis.
Yeah.
Except basically. For Spurs, they'll fuck that up.
But I think it's a really good group of teams. Between Leicester and West Ham are strong. Liverpool come in here weak, they'll get beat. Chelsea can't create anything anymore. Arsenal, by the time that final comes, another couple months, maybe Smith Rowe's taking another step forward. I mean, the thing that's exciting, and I kind of go, you know how I vacillate on Arsenal. I'm like, oh my God, should they fire Arteta? To, hey, maybe they're going to be a top 6, like I said, is the youth part, which I kind of didn't really put together. And now I'm just like, oh, succession. Is Roman going to be the head of the company? Is it going to be Arteta?
So, okay, there are a couple of elements to the Carabao Cup that we need to keep in mind, right? First of all, unlike last season, it is a 2-leg semifinal again. I looked this up because I was talking to my brother, who's a Liverpool fan, and he and I were curious.
2-leg semifinal is advantage big teams.
Unless you're Liverpool and it's in December and January and you have fucking nobody and you say, fuck this stupid little trophy, we're going after the Premier League, right? Yeah. So I actually think Liverpool is a bad bet. Chelsea's got depth on depth on depth, but right now, they're scratching the surface here. Yeah.
Yeah, they're using it. Yeah.
The question I have is, are they healthy by the time the next few rounds come along? Probably.
And do they care? It all depends whether they give a shit. Yeah.
But do they care? They're the champions. They're the reigning champions of Europe.
The only manager who ever cared about this thing was Pep, and that's why City won 4 in a row. Which we're really proud of. We weren't really proud of it as it was going along, but once you are on like, hey, we're fucking 3-time champions. Let's go get this thing.
The other thing, there are 2 teams of this 8, well, technically 3, that are not in Europe by any stretch. Sunderland, Arsenal, and Brentford. Yeah. Arsenal and Brentford, I think, when I look at this, are the 2 best bets if you were to take,
because they'll go for it. They'll go for it. There's no reason for Arsenal to rotate. Like, go get this thing. It's here. Go. Now it will be FA Cup will come around too. We'll see where teams are in that tournament. That's the next level,
but
right?
This competition ends.
Yeah, it's just in February. It's got 2 games to go.
Like middle of January. So
it's awesome.
We're already in the quarters, right? So you have to win 3 more games. And like you said,
go for it. Go win it.
Somebody's going to get a bye round. And if you're and look, you could have any of these teams, and I'm not looking at their fixtures right now. There's too many possibilities. But let's say Liverpool has to play City. They have to play Leeds. They have to play 3 or 4 annoying teams in a row. Mix in a Champions League game in the off week, right? So I think that the advantage of not having as many games and having lower stakes organically than Liverpool and Chelsea and Leicester even. Fucking go get it, Arsenal. Go get it, Brentford. So that's, I mean, you know what though?
Listen, it has.
Aren't you rooting for Sunderland?
They ain't winning that fucking.
I know they're not. They're the easy out in the next round. But wouldn't it be cool if they made it?
It would be great. I mean, then they'd have to they'd have to have like season 4 of we won the final. They would be like, can we trade it in so that we can be promoted? Because I don't really want to go to Europe.
What would happen, by the way, is they would get to the final at Wembley against Leicester or Brentford and get the fucking doors blown off of them. That's what would happen.
They would bring all of those people because none of them have jobs.
The whole town. The whole town. Absolutely.
Those poor Sunderland. They were a Premier League fixture for decades. That's a big, secretly big club. Big, locally big. But we did, I think we've done more Carabao Cup than the entirety of season 2 and 3 of our podcast. But I do love it and I am excited, but the fixture list is a little bit weird. So we can go kind of into the betting here. I do want to talk Crystal Palace City. That's an interesting game. Newcastle and Chelsea in the battle of don't care. A claret and blue, a Brentford Burnley thing.
We're gonna find out. Is this the first match without Steve Bruce?
This is the first. No, they played already.
No, they played Palace. They played Palace.
Yeah. They drew.
Again, Chelsea's wobbly right now, not in form, but in injuries. Can Newcastle nick a point here? I don't think so.
The game that they had to get was that Spurs game. That was the emotion game. After this, now they're just in like.
Oh, I'm not talking about this.
They're in like, can we just fucking stay in the league game?
But right. But can we get an individual brilliance game from Alan St. Maximin? Can we get a cheap bounce from Callum Wilson? Listen, I'm not saying that it's going to happen, by the way, but. No. Chelsea's a little frayed at the back right now. They've got that dude with the huge ass. I don't even know his name. He just has an enormous badonk. I was like, what the fuck is that guy? Yeah, yes, that guy. Huge ass.
Newcastle are plus 800 at home.
No,
to
I
win.
know. With the odds, I get it. But I'm not advocating for anybody to place money on this. What I'm
You just
saying
want
is that
Chelsea to lose.
I always do. But I think
Is Tuchel going to gin up the team enough to put an effort in at St. James's Park? Because if you slip, they will punch you.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think that they could.
yeah,
They won't, but they could.
yeah.
And conversely, I just have a lot of questions about what Newcastle looks like post Steve Bruce. I didn't see the game last weekend, and I just don't know how they will mesh.
They're just not good. Their issue is they're really bad. Like they can't
Yeah,
defend at all.
yeah,
Like
no, I know.
Lascelles is a warrior, but the issue is Richie is a winger and he's good offensively. But if
Mhm.
you watch Newcastle regularly, they go down his side and they just kick the shit out of him. Like he
Oh
can't
yeah.
defend. Like they just get annihilated.
Mhm.
Like Richie is just out there and their defense isn't good enough. And then what happens is they end up just hoofing the ball to St. Maximin. And if he loses it, it comes right back at them. So they're just a
Right.
classic. He's just a classic bad team. I'm not worried about them. We want Brentford to destroy Burnley because we're done with their claret and
This is
blue.
good versus evil.
Right. And then we didn't really touch on the Watford Everton game. Is Watford going to get the dilly dong motherfucker into Southampton? Southampton are the best team at creating shots and not scoring them. And that is got to be all because of who's the
James
guy?
Ward-Prowse.
No, not Ward-Prowse. The other one, their front man who never
Che
scores.
Adams. He stinks.
Yeah, he's bad too.
He stinks.
I'm thinking of the one who plays all the time, but
so
I can't.
I had a strategy in fantasy last year that led me to pick up Che Adams. It was follow the guy with the most big chances missed in the last like 4 or 5 weeks, and he is due for one, right? Like he's gonna fall ass backwards into a goal.
Now they have found a striker in Broha, which is a great name.
It is a good name.
Yeah, but
sounds like a Polish girl in a brothel.
No, he's Albanian, but from
close.
Slough. He's from Slough. Nathan Redmond is the man I'm talking about, who can't convert anything.
No,
and never has. So
he couldn't. He couldn't score in a whorehouse. That's two.
Exactly.
That's two whorehouse jokes.
He's that guy. He doesn't do much for us. So I do have concerns there, but it's kind of a strange week where when we were trying to look at the bets and trying to talk through things, we were really grasping at straws. You think that it's Norwich's time to beat Leeds. I think if Norwich beats Leeds, then Bielsa should leave.
Yeah. What else? So his message just feels like it's tired at this point, right? Like
it's injuries. They can't. They don't good. They didn't.
Yeah.
Their recruitment isn't working, or they don't have enough up front to get it back to normal. But they still have their guys. But I mean, Bamford's out, Ayling's out, Koch is out. Rafinha's doubtful, Firpo's doubtful. Like this team's not deep enough to survive players out. You would expect like Leeds has to have this game more than anything in the world. Like if they can't get points here, they are actually starting to get into trouble, especially if you consider Newcastle getting an infusion of wealth and a manager. But you just can't imagine that Bielsa would go down with Leeds. It seems insane, like crazy talk.
Well,
but
all right.
They're playing really badly.
Caliber of manager. I mean, you would have like a Big Sam come in and do the complete opposite, right? But like just to stay up. But
they would riot if they.
I've said this before on the show, I'm sure, but like rule number 1 about firing your manager, firing your coach,
have someone ready.
Is he the person you have ready? Is he ready? Is he better than the manager you currently have now? What is going to change? What is going to be better about your team?
They don't have anyone.
The big clubs can go after a Conte, right? Or can go after whoever from the elsewheres of Europe gets fired, Pochettino. But the smaller clubs, that's a hard task, right? Like you can't just turn around and hire somebody. You don't have unlimited funds. You certainly can't pull somebody that is desirable, like Thomas Frank, out of their situation in January. So when there's when there's so much manager turnover at the bottom of the table, I understand why. It's to try and keep your head above water, but I find that oftentimes it's doing more harm than good. Sometimes the guy has to go, though.
And then I think that we are, and to your point, we are in the smart version of football now. Like there's very, very few shit teams that will fire their managers. There's very, very few dinosaurs left. We're now in a different phase where some of the rules we thought about are kind of moving around. In fact, the worst run, I mean, I'm not even being funny. You could almost argue that the worst run club in the Premier League is Manchester United.
I would
in
argue
terms of
that
like
their opponent this week, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but at least Levy has continuity. Levy has a plan. Levy has a philosophy. You may not like it,
I don't think anybody likes it.
Right, but he runs the club. He represents the club. He loves the club. He wants them to win. He just makes mistakes, right? But like with United, I don't think that you have that. You know, maybe Everton is the worst run. You know what I mean? In terms of like who's going to fire people, who's going to do weird things. Right. I could be totally wrong. I might be overstretching here, but of the top half teams, definitely United is the weakest of the group.
I would argue Spurs are by far, because 2 years ago, like not even close. I think United's close. I think we're seeing this matchup. I told you we'd come back to them. Is a matchup of the two most poorly run teams in the relevance, shall we say, of the Premier League. Of the teams that matter.
If the people who become part of the story.
Yeah. I think that fine, whatever order you want. I think it's Spurs, and I have a lot of reasons, but we don't have enough time for that.
They got a new stadium. They got killed because of COVID, fucked it up.
No, they didn't. They didn't buy a fucking player for 18 months. And then they acted like, turn around like Pochettino was the fucking problem. And he was the only good goddamn thing they had going for him in fucking 10 years. Anyway, sorry, Mike. Stop.
Wait. What are you going to do when he has that Red Devil blazer on?
Oh, I'm going to kill myself. No, that would hurt. That would make me really sad. And I don't even hate United, but it would just make me sad.
You don't hate United? Everybody hates United.
I have no reason to hate United. Aside from the lads, it's Tottenham thing. I really don't have any reason to directly dislike them. And Berbatov, yeah, like, well, I wasn't around then. It was just before my time, right? As a Spurs supporter.
Lads at Spurs, that's enough to hate them.
Yeah, but ever since he's left, it's become a joke because we've done pretty well against them. Put up a touchdown on him at Old Trafford last year.
I know. That was the first Ole out. Let's cover your bets. I think we've exhausted. Well,
first of all, you're taking a week off, aren't you?
I am damaged. I am hurting. I am sad.
You helped build
taking a break
in Nevada,
and I just can't. I can't find a game. I'm looking at things like, I knew I was in trouble when I looked at the lines, and I was like, Brighton plus 1,000 versus Liverpool.
Yeah,
that feels good. I'll do that. And then I knew, I was like, okay, this is bad. I can't do this game.
So I
wanted all the crazies. Although that plus 1,800 Palace versus City is looking. I gotta put $5 on it. I'm back in. I'm putting a fucking the crazy special. I'm putting 10 shinolas on Crystal Palace plus 1,800. That's $10 to win 180.
To go to the Etihad and win.
Get a result and ruin my team season.
Yes.
To win $180.
Andros Townsend from the parking lot is going to score, and they're going to win 1-0.
It's going to be Gallagher. He's going to draw a penalty on Emerick Laporte, and KDB is going to miss a penalty.
Okay. I will start there.
That's my only bet, because it's too big not to take it.
I will start there. I looked at City because I looked at this game and I said, well, Palace is a team that is not going to play afraid of you. They're going to play the game, right? And we saw them play, like, I watched them very closely against Spurs. They are going to try and impose their will on the opposition. The problem is that Man City absolutely shit kicks teams like that, right? So I saw,
and they don't have good enough defense,
and it's an obnoxious line for a football match. It is -2. -120. So that means City have to win by 3 and you win $80 on 100 roughly. No thanks. But because basically if Palace scores 1, which is entirely possible, if not likely, then that bet is really in trouble, right? You need a 4-1 result.
City don't give
So
up shit, especially
I
against
thought
a team
about
like
this, and I don't have a number on it because my book is down at the moment. But Bovada didn't have team
Oh,
total.
what
for
are the game
City.
you're looking for?
No, it was Man City Palace, but it was Manchester City team total. 2.5. Now, if the spread is 2.5 is probably even money, probably maybe a little bit plus money. I would take that because especially if they get an early goal, they're going to be off to the races. So that's the one that I like. I'm going the totally opposite way of you. I'm going City shit kicking. I'm going 3-1 City or something like that, or even 3-0.
Exact total goals.
No.
For
Manchester
the
City
game,
team
or
total. Manchester City has to score more than 2.5 team total. That's what it's called. So that's mine. And I don't, like I said, I don't have a line on it, but I would imagine based on the spread, it's going to be roughly even, if maybe short plus money. The second one we talked a lot about already. The early game, Leicester is they're at home against Arsenal. Arsenal don't travel on the road well based on their results. They're still shaky. Leicester is they're sort of peaking right now, if you will. And we talked a lot about how there's 3 good teams and 17 not so good teams. I could be wrong about that. It could be Leicester. Leicester could be that. In fact, we're going to learn a lot about that number 4 spot this weekend with Leicester and so I'll say that plus 150 money line, Leicester, bank on it. And then the other game is a quote unquote top 4 6-pointer. Spurs are going to lose. We spent 41 minutes so far trying to convince me that Spurs are not going to get smoked in their own house. But again, one team has Cristiano Ronaldo and one just doesn't, right?
Why are you afraid of fucking
again, for the reasons I said earlier in the show,
non-coached team who are coming off like the worst defeat in their history? You think Ole's going to rally the troops?
No, I think Cristiano is.
Go, but who's going to get him the ball? Go, they're there for the taking.
Go
Fernandes, after them. It's
Bruno
a
Fernandes
6-pointer.
Is better than everybody in the midfield.
You can beat this team.
I didn't say we couldn't.
Weak. They're fragile. Let Harry Kane score an early goal and it's over. They will fold.
Listen, I've seen Harry be a little bit better than he is now. Take it from me, your resident Spurs supporter. Cristiano Ronaldo to score and Manchester United to win is plus 270. Those are pretty good odds. I like that a lot. So I'm not going to, I'll be very clear. I'm not going to bet on that one because I just can't bring myself to actually bet against my own team ever. But I'm going to be so fucking mad when that one hits. Oh goodness. Actually, I'm not. You're not
going to bet United to win, Cristiano to score. Why don't you just bet for Cristiano to score?
No. I'm not because that's a 12:30 game on Saturday Eastern, and I have bigger fish to fry. Michigan's playing Michigan State, and I'm going to be tracking tickets for the game I'm going to in a few weeks in Michigan. So I will be keeping an eye on Tottenham, but I won't be watching very closely. And that's why, because you know what? Both of these teams are going to break my heart, but I have more invested in Michigan for the next 3 to 4 weeks because you know what? Why would I invest anything in Spurs right now? And they're going to prove me right on Saturday.
Oh boy.
So
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I've just put $10 on all bets that are over plus 800.
So okay. Fucking hell. All right. One amendment, if I may.
So that is I'm going to tell you exactly what I've got. I've got Newcastle to win at plus 800. I've got Brighton to win at plus 1,000, and I've got Palace to win at plus 1,800. I'm taking all the long shots.
Brighton to beat. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yikes. Brighton to beat Liverpool at Liverpool.
At Anfield. Cool. Yeah. All right. Okay.
They did it last year. They could do it again.
One amendment to my Leicester bet, if I can.
Okay.
Okay. I would, and it's the early game, so it probably not possible for most of our lovely listeners. But I would say wait until the lineup comes out. Sometimes, there's surprises and stuff like that in the lineup. For instance, Aston Villa last weekend, we put those bets in before we saw the lineups. I thought Leon Bailey was going to start.
I did not. I didn't even think of that.
So that's one thing. You just put a bet in right now. So, but that is one thing I would say is that if you have the availability, if you're awake and fucking around and hanging out, look at the lineups before you lock it in.
Yeah.
Because that could be a game changer. Now, obviously, that's going to change the lines too. If Iheanacho's missing, or that he's not going to be a huge change. If Kane is missing on Saturday for Spurs, right, that's going to change everything dramatically. But it's something I learned the hard way in my first trip to London. I put a $5 on Delhi to score and Spurs to beat actually Brighton, I believe.
I have a side note. Is he done?
Oh yeah,
Spurs.
Well, yeah, because he's all right. He has to go to a club where he can play in an attacking role. Nuno tried to put him in this box to box
he doesn't
mentality. He doesn't do that. He gets into the box. He's almost the second striker. He plays off of Kane. He's the guy who picks up all the loose change.
I think he just doesn't
and fires it.
I just think Mourinho broke his ass.
Yeah.
And now with the long hair, he looks like he's on the weed.
That's entirely possible, and happy for him. But
it's fine for everyone else. But if you're a professional player,
where
he's
going to
go on the weed. Newcastle.
You know where he's going to go? Newcastle. And he's going to do great.
Yeah, but is he really just a better version of Joe Willock? Yes.
You forget.
That team's
in
terrible.
2016, 2017, he was Phil Foden.
I know
he was that good.
I know he scored 18 league goals, and
he was that good. Okay,
I know, and it's gone.
And it's dormant. I will never give up on Dele Alli. I will always love him. And
you can sell your stock in Said Berahino too.
Oh Jesus, that's a
that cut. And Adnan Januzaj and the millions of players who have one season and we never see them.
No, he had like 2 or 3 where he was strong, but Adnan Januzaj didn't score 18 fucking goals. No. All right. And so that's the thing, is that the quality still is there and the swagger is still there. It's just he's being asked to do things he doesn't do well at the Premier League level. He's put in a shift and he's been kind of bastardized for it, and he's out. He's like, why am I still here, essentially, right? So I'm curious if he leaves in January. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, Levy's
and it makes me sad.
Levy sucks. He won't sell him. He's a douchebag.
No, Levy will now. He didn't want to because he wanted to. He saw Mourinho break him, and he basically his dream, my dream,
is to bring the value back up.
Was to bring Pochettino back in the summer and have him rejuvenate him, and that hasn't happened. And so yeah, it's time for Dele to go, and I will weep for him. He's one of my all-time favorite Spurs players. Fun fact about him: I was at the very first game he played for Spurs at the MLS All-Star game in 2015. They had just signed him, and it was the second half. It's a friendly. They bring in all these like youth players. I'm like, hold on, the kid number 20, he's like supposedly really fucking good. So I've loved him from literally Jump Street.
He had been coming off an awesome season at 18 for MK Dons.
MK Dons.
Yeah,
it's time to go, Robbie.
Oh, is it time to go? I will read it out.
What else? We don't have anything else to talk about.
It's time to go. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and who am I? Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network, who we congratulate. We are part of their 40,000 total downloads on the network. Woohoo! Yeah. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple, please rate and review the show so we can meet our goals of being bigger than you.
Jesus, you can't even read. But wait, real quick, shout to my boy BJ. We got a review. It was very, very lovely. Big fan of the show. We're big fans of BJ. Review us so we can be big fans of you too.
And get BJ's.
That's come on.
Hey, and